So as a motorcycle journalist, I get to test ride motorcycles almost every single day. But surprising as it may sound, monotony does kick in at some point, and then come motorcycles like the Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R, which help me recall the entire purpose of doing this and reignite the passion if there happens to be even a little bit of dearth of it. The ZX6R, they say, belongs to a category which is almost on the brink of extinction. Ever-tightening emission norms and people's changing preferences have made it hard for middleweight supersport motorcycles to exist. Especially in India, after the demise of the Triumph Daytona, the ZX6R is the only proper mid-size supersport that we are left with. But be that as it may, now that we have the Ninja ZX6R at our disposal in its new 2024 avatar, allow me to share every small detail about the largely amazing and slightly painful experience I've been having with the motorcycle so far. And mind you, this bike is not for everyone. I'll tell you why.
Let's start this with its screamer of an engine. Powering the ZX6R is the same old 636cc inline 4-cylinder engine that has received some internal changes for 2024, like revised crank profiles for a punchier low and mid-range performance and other alterations to meet the stricter emission norms. It produces around 122 bhp at 13,000 rpm and 69 Nm of torque at 11,000 rpm. These numbers are marginally lower than its predecessor, but I bet you wouldn't be able to figure that out on the road.
The way the 6R's engine behaves is absolutely dramatic and interesting. So under 6000 RPM mark, it just gives you a trailer of what lies ahead. But once you get past that 6000 RPM mark, it starts wreaking a havoc with a brutal acceleration and the soundtrack attaining a much higher pitch. But once you go beyond 8000 RPM mark, it starts charging ahead like a starving predator chasing its prey. Far-looking things start approaching you at a ridiculous pace and the scenery around you just blurs past. And if you still feel courageous enough to keep the throttle pinned, it approaches its red line, which is close to 14,000 RPM, much sooner than your realization. And all of this unfolds with that screamer of an engine letting out a high-pitched howl, which might give you goosebumps at times. When on the 6R, it's very difficult to not keep revving the guts out of that engine. It's so addictive, so intoxicating.
At times, you might feel that the engine is shouting more than it's going, but that is what makes things insanely dramatic and engaging. What adds to the overall experience is the seamless quick shifter, which changes cogs with a slight touch of your toe. The absence of an auto blipper is a downer, and it means you have to use the clutch to downshift. But that is acceptable considering the clutch is light and the gearbox itself is super slick. What may act as a grouse for some is the slightly snappy on-off throttle response, especially in full power mode, but that is negligible. When you hit the corners while enjoying the inline 4 nirvana, the ZX6R continues to boggle your mind. It responds with such precision even to the slightest of inputs that many a time I ended up taking a much tighter line than I should have. Once leaned over into a corner, it feels profoundly composed and rock solid and inspires oodles of confidence to push your limits and up your skill level. The entire combination of the beautifully engineered perimeter frame, Showa suspension, fairly sticky Diablo Rosso 4 tires and the sharp geometry of the bike concertedly deliver a handling package that feels like a dream. And the faster the pace, the more natural it feels to attack corners. Complementing the overall package are Nissin brakes, which shed speed incredibly quickly regardless your pace. The dual disc up front and single rotor at the rear deliver a strong bite with great progression.
If you have below average fitness like me, chances are high that you'll come back with some aching body parts after even close to 2 hours of riding. But that's a good thing because this bike makes you want to get fitter, hit the gym, do some cardio and lift some weights. Just like a quintessential super sport, the riding triangle is super aggressive. Now your knees are acutely bent and the reach to the handlebar is quite far. And since it's a tall motorcycle, shorter riders might have some issue getting on board and getting their feet on the ground. But when you get an open road, whack open the throttle and get back on the seat and tuck behind that windscreen, everything starts making sense. You sort of blend in with the motorcycle and become one with it. Even at speeds of close to 200 kmph, you are not scared or nervous. And when the corners arrive and you get into attack mode, the seat has enough room to move back and get one of your backsides out, properly lock in your outside knee onto the fuel tank and drop your outside upper body onto the inside. So on corners, it feels like this motorcycle is meant to do this, and it does everything on its own. It's just superb.
Things aren't quite as rosy in the city though. Your wrists start aching in no time due to braking and the resultant pressure that's constantly applied to them. Spend a few minutes in traffic and your back also takes a toll. And if you happen to get your feet up and down the pegs intermittently, your knees may start hurting too due to the high and extremely rear set foot pegs. Not to forget, the large turning radius makes flicking your way through gaps difficult. If you live in a city with broken and uneven roads in abundance, you might find the ride quality to be slightly on the stiffer side in the suspension's stock setting. However, the front USDs and rear monoshock are fully adjustable, which means you have the flexibility to tailor your ride as per your liking. The new 6R also offers a TFT screen which is legible in any lighting condition. Through this screen, you can choose one of the two power levels in customizable riding mode, which also allows you to turn off traction control. Plus, there are 3 preset riding modes to choose from, including rain, road and sport. In case it matters to you, this screen can be connected to the rider's smartphone via Bluetooth. Now, if it's not obvious yet, the Ninja ZX6R is a profoundly aggressive, sporty and in my opinion, beautiful looking motorcycle. The front squatting stance, sharp design lines and a long upswept and pointed tail section make it look like it's in motion even at a standstill. The front fascia looks angry and ferocious, and the huge 6R branding adorning its fuel tank and fairing add to the visual drama. Many times, I just stood and stared at the 6R for minutes, admiring its design lines. Complementing its looks is the top-notch build quality and impressive fit and finish.
The Ninja ZX6R is a missile on an open road, a ballerina around corners and a supermodel in terms of looks. I would say it's outright entertaining. While it goes fast, it reaches high speeds with a loud and addictive soundtrack which makes you let out a joyous laughter every time you ring that throttle wide open. And it's not just potent but also very tractable for the real world. Although it doesn't come loaded with features and hasn't received any significant hardware updates for many years now, it has all the crucial bits that a beginner supersport rider might need. It has multiple power levels, multiple traction control levels, and you can adjust the suspension and the ride as per your liking and the riding condition. But as I've said before, the ZX6R is not for everyone and it's a very focused super sport machine in terms of the way you sit on the motorcycle, the way it performs and how it looks. So it is meant for someone who has a special place for sport bikes in their hearts, like me, but don't want to go for, big, intimidating, litter class behemoths. Also, with the 6R, you get the bragging rights of owning something that doesn't have a direct competition in India, which makes it distinctive and slightly unique. Now, considering all these factors, I think its ex-showroom price tag of 11.09 lakh is absolutely worth it. That was the story of Ninja ZX6R. I'm Anuj, signing off for now.